Hey guys, and welcome to a very exciting day and an exciting video. We have a new hero entering the Nexus. Now, you might not recognize this hero because this hero is another Nexus Born Hero similar to Orphea. Now, whether you agree or disagree with them doing that, that's besides the point. We are going to be talking about Qhira today and talking about how Qhira's abilities and talents will be affecting the meta of this game, where she's going to fit, and what she's going to be doing. So let's get right into it. Now, before I normally start off by explaining her Q, W, E, and then trait, and then go into her ultimate abilities, we're actually going to start off with her trait, and we'll talk a little bit about why. So I have cooldowns toggled on, and her trait makes it to where you fire off a grappling hook, pulls you to the terrain, and if you don't hit terrain, you don't pull anywhere. If you hit terrain, you get pulled towards it, and this can also work on heroes as well. But if you hit a hero, you deal damage when it first applies, and then you deal damage again. And so you can fly right to a hero, do 2 sets of damage, and then 1 free auto attack when you get there. So it's actually a good chunk of burst. At level 20, I did 800 damage. That's 20% of an bruiser's health. And we'll talk about how that gets in just a second. The cool part about this is a lot of people might be saying, oh, it's just like Sonya's. Well, this one actually goes through minions to hit either terrain or heroes. So you can fly right onto another hero through minions, through everything else, making it an engage that if your team's ready to engage, you can pretty much always go in. Not to mention that you do also have an E ability, which also goes through heroes, and we'll talk about that in just a second. The problem with this ability is it has a very long cooldown. If you miss it, you just pretty much missed your only escape that she has in her kit. And being as she's considered a melee assassin, which I actually think she's more of a bruiser, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. She's considered a melee assassin, and in that case, losing her only escape is pretty punishing. So why do I consider, if you saw my Twitter post by any chance, you'll see that I consider her to have an engage, a pre-10 engage that's as strong as maiev. So what do I mean by that? Well, maiev can dive in from about here and then jump into backline about here and immediately start an engage because she can be mounted up, go in, toss her E, and then she can grab a bunch of people. Well, I actually think that her engage might be almost as strong, and I want to show you guys what I mean by that. So we're going to toggle cooldowns once again, and let's talk about her E. Her E is called Revolving Sweep. You attach your sword to the first enemy hero hit, deal damage, stun them. Once attached, you become immune to everything, and you swing around the target. Now, you can swing 360 around the target if you want to, and then end up back where you're at. If you decide that it's no longer an engage that you want to go in, you're right out of the fight, and you're perfectly fine. But if you want to, you can reactivate this, and you can send that target into your team so that your team can start actually fighting them. It's kind of a fascinating ability that has a lot of uses. If you're ever on the wrong side of an opponent, say you're in the middle of a team fight and you don't want to be in the middle of this team fight, you can always grab onto the tank and then knock the tank back into your team and walk away. So it can be used as an engage, it can be used as an escape, but it's a less reliable escape than your grappling hook, but it can still certainly work for an escape. This is a very cool ability, and we haven't had anything like this, which is really, really cool. A lot of our other abilities, we have things that we can kind of refer it to, but I just really like the idea of this ability, and I think it's got a lot of really cool uses. Now, if you swing over enemies, you do actually do some damage, and you slow them, but you don't actually knock them in as well. So if I was to go over here and try to knock in another enemy, it doesn't actually work that way. But it is a really, really fascinating ability. So her gameplay in teamfights could be really cool, where you maybe use your grappling hook to get onto the tank, go into the backline, slow their entire backline, send one person in the team, and then possibly use one of your ultimate abilities to set up a great team fight for your team. We'll talk about her ultimate abilities when we get through the rest of her abilities. Now let's get into her Q. Her Q is... It seems very basic when you first look at it. It says, unleashes your sword in a target direction, continuously dealing damage to the enemies caught in the path. So you fire off your Q, and then it comes back out, which is kind of neat. And you do different amount of stacks of damage. Now, because it's continuously dealing damage, the longer your Q is in there, the more damage it deals. So, for example, if I hit all of these enemies, just watch for a second on the stacks that are applied. I have 5 stacks applied to this one, 4 stacks applied to this one, and 2 stacks applied to this one. You're probably going, well, what are those stacks? And so before I get there, this kind of has a little bit of a shotgun effect in one line. And what a shotgun effect means for me is not that it spreads out. It's more that the closer you are to the target, the more damage it deals. So if you can hit targets that are close, you're going to be doing a lot more damage. So an engage might look something like where you use your trait to get in, then you use your E, then you reposition them, and while you're close, you use your Q. And so you can see we did about, without any talents, we did about half of a bruiser's health, maybe a little bit more than that depending on the bruiser. Which is really fascinating. For example, Anub'arak has 4,790 health at level 21. We just did 2,500 damage, so we did more than half of Anub'arak's health. Of course, he has some mitigation and all that, but still, that's a good chunk of damage before we even get any talents. And it's a pretty solid engage without even using my W. So now, what is this damage over time that we've been seeing? That is Blood Rage. Blood Rage is when you basic attack or your abilities cause enemies to bleed. So whenever you deal damage with a basic attack or an ability, you cause the enemies to bleed for 96 damage over 4 seconds. That's essentially, if you have 4 stacks, it's essentially 100 DPS. 5 stacks, 125 DPS, give or take, level 20. It's not that great, but to be so easily applied, it does do quite a bit. The 500 damage over 4 seconds can be healed up rather easily, but you can activate it at any time. It does not remove the stacks. It just heals you and deals extra damage. The damage and healing is increased per each additional stack on that hero. So, for example, if you want a lot of burst off of it, you can go apply 5 stacks really quick, and then press W, that's 210 damage, and again, the damage over time stays for the entire time. So, for example, we would be doing about 500 damage plus an extra 200 damage, which is pretty solid. So, it's essentially 700 damage from just your Blood Rage alone. As an activatable ability, it feels more like a trait to me, as well as your trait feels more like a W to me, but hey, I'm not a hero designer, so what do I know? So now that we've talked about all of her basic abilities, let's go into her ultimate abilities, and I'm just going to be throwing in random talents and talking about it. Unrelenting Strikes deals 96 damage to nearby enemies every 0.5 seconds, or 2.5 seconds. As your sword grows outward, upon expiring, you do a big stun for 0.75 seconds. It's a lower stun than a lot of other ultimates are, but I will say that the way that it's applied and the easiness of landing this stun will make it an amazing engage. So for example, you'll be charging in like this, then as enemies are running around, you'll be building it up, and then boom, you stun their entire team. So it's an amazing engage. Something, again, like I said, she's got the engaging potential that Maiev has. Maiev would just bring out a cage, but at the same time, we've got this ult that comes out. Now, what do you see? She is not unstoppable during this, from what I can tell anyways, which means that this can be interruptible. Unlike Bladestorm, this can be interruptible. Now, different from Bladestorm as well, is it has a stun applied to it, and it's on a hero that has a little bit crazier stuff going on. So, while this ult will likely be the meta ult, because of its playmaking potential, it is very risky because all it's going to take is 1 point and click stun and you're done. So you may need to rely on some other stuns before you use this, but it does have a relatively low cooldown at 75 seconds for something as powerful as this engage. Her other ultimate ability that she has is an ultimate called Final Strike. As she is a hunter and someone who is going to be doing a lot for finishing people off during fights, this ultimate fits really well. It does a little bit of damage, 900 damage. That's like 20% of a bruiser's health. And the damage is increased by 25% against enemies who are below 50% health. It does have a wind-up time, but it's kind of hard to see because of its extremely long range. You could be essentially in Fog of War firing off this ability, doing 900 damage, and then applying your damage over time. You can also press W to get an extra 70 damage on targets. Because of her close range combat, I feel that this one's a little strange because once you're into a fight, it's kind of hard to aim this to where you can hit the target you sent to your team and also the targets behind, which makes this more of an engage or an end ability. I have a feeling that 90% of the time this ability is going to be used, it's going to be used on fleeing targets to see if you can hit them right as they're gone to finish them off. Because again, hitting people for about 20% of a bruiser's health, maybe about 30 to 40% of an assassin's health, could make it to where if you catch an assassin below 50% running away, this could almost always guarantee a kill. 40-second cooldown allows this ability to be used to finish off just about any ranged target that's running away. But again, without the playmaking potential, this is really only going to be used as a finisher. Now, some team comps need a finisher. This can make her a great hero to be ran with someone like a Lunara or a Gul'dan who can get everyone low but can't finish them off, allowing you once per 40 seconds to get a chance to finish someone off. A pretty cool ult, but we'll see exactly how the talents will play out. So before I get into the talents, a lot of people have been asking, where does she fit? What is she going to be doing? And now that we know kind of her abilities, we can go into some of her play styles. So as you can see, she is a very engaging melee assassin, and her damage is very high. Her engage possibilities are extremely high, pre-10 and post-10. So she fits a lot like Maiev. But my concern a little bit is the same concern that I had during Maiev's release. She has a lot of health. She has a lot of survivability. For a melee assassin, I felt like she fits more as a bruiser, and she could be great for like a solo laner, because she also has healing capability. You can quickly poke and then use your W to heal up a little bit. Now, it's not a lot, but it's enough to keep you with a bit of sustain because these cooldowns are relatively low, 6 and 8 seconds. So where does she fit? I personally think in her current state, she's a little strong because, I mean, in your base kit, you can do half of a bruiser's health while also having the survivability of a bruiser. But there are some other heroes that can do that relatively the same. For example, Sonya, you can charge in with your Q, you can hit with a W, or you can go in and then spin afterwards, and you can do a decent chunk of damage as well. They're all situational, and they have relatively long cooldowns for your sweep, for example. And she is a pretty high risk at the moment, too. She doesn't have any armor or anything to that sense, but we'll see in the talents as we get there. Anyways, before I say whether she's strong or not, numbers can all adjust any of those things. Currently, she can fit as either a bruiser or a melee assassin in the 4-man that can engage with your team and kind of go from there. Her camp clear is relatively good in her base kit. You don't really need too much. You can apply damage over times to both of them, and once you see the max damage over times on both of them, you can always press your W off cooldown, and then just always make sure that you go with your Q at the closest range possible. So it's relatively quickly to take out camps whenever you need to. Yes, I had toggle cooldowns, but I was trying to count out my abilities as much as possible. And she is a... She's pretty good at camp. She's pretty good in the 4-man. She's pretty good in the solo lane. She definitely can't solo tank, and she definitely isn't going to be a sustained damage dealer during fights because she is melee, which means that you will need to run her with other heroes. I feel that she's going to be grouped best with heroes who do sustained damage, who might not have that dive in, engage capability. So she'll fit in any place that maybe a Genji or like a bruiser-ish Genji might fit, or someone that might need an engage. I would say either a Maiev or a Genji would be her best replacement. Onto her talents to get into the nitty-gritty of what she's capable of. Level 1. Carnage deals additional damage and slows. So if Carnage damages the same hero 3 times, it deals additional damage of 237 and slows. So to talk about that, you pretty much just need to be at the halfway point or closer. Right about here is 4. We can do a little bit further back if we want to right here. And there you go. It applies 3 times. The only time it doesn't really work is if it's right at the tip. So if it's right at the tip, you're going to notice it only hits twice. But every other time than that, it's going to be hitting the same hero 3 times and dealing extra damage and slowing them, allowing for her to have another form of engage and a little bit more burst damage. Fatal Wounds. While at maximum stacks, the bleed damage is doing 50% more damage to heroes that are under 50%. Again, she's a great finisher. But there's also a quest, damaging heroes with Blood Rage bleed damage. After damaging the heroes 125 times, the duration is increased by 2 seconds. I have a feeling that this will likely be one of the strong talents for a lot of people because it's a quest that a lot of people like. Because it kind of does everything that you need to for your W, and your W alone is pretty solid. And it does give something powerful even if you don't complete the quest, which is really cool. So it gives base value and also as quest. I have a feeling it's going to be a very, very powerful talent. Finishing Touch. Your basic attacks on targets below 50% health deal 25% additional damage, and you gain attack speed, allowing for you to have this really fast attack, a lot of damage when trying to finish off targets. A great way to really get on targets. Now, this would be an amazing talent if she has a talent down the line that makes it to where when she kills a target, she gets health back. Because having attack speed means that you have to be sitting on a target for a good amount of time to get value out of this. And as a melee hero, you're going to be taking a lot of damage. If you've ever tried to just play Malthael and get in the middle of the team fight, you can notice you usually take a lot of damage really fast, which is why you need kind of an in and out playstyle where you charge in, you do some burst damage, and then you might get out so you don't die, and then go back into the fight with another ability, and then come back in, do some damage, and then go back out again. And that's what most bruisers kind of need, is that in and out playstyle. But if you can get something that heals you, this could be an amazing talent for just sticking in fights until people die. Let's stick with Fatal Wounds for now, and we'll go into the further talents. Upstage. Damaging at least 2 heroes with Blood Rage causes Qhira to evade the next 4 basic attacks. And so to give an idea with this one, you don't just need to apply... You don't need to press your W, for example. Actually, sorry, you do need to press your W to get the block charges. So that's the hard part, is you would only get these block charges by pressing your W. You don't actually get them from just getting Fatal Wounds. But as you can see also on the quest, it's relatively easy to get this quest done if you are hitting multiple targets in the early stages of the game with your Q. Or if you use your E and you can go around a couple targets and then you reapply it, a Q again when you're done with your E, you can get your quest done relatively quickly. So just so you know, on the level 1 quest, it is relatively easy. So you do need the... you need to press W to get the evasion, but that could allow her a lot of survivabilities. Revolving Sweep will slow enemies. So the primary target of Revival Sweep is slowed by 25%, while attached secondary targets are going to be slowed by 35%. So it just kind of increases the initials, or the extra slow that was already on there. Actually, there was no other slow on there, my bad. So it gives a slow to everyone involved, giving her a better engage. So this gives her more survivability in fights. This gives her a better engage. Basic attacks on heroes grant you armor stacks 3 times. So again, more survivability. In case you're going against mages, this will likely be the answer for an all-in comp, like an all-in build anyways, and this will likely be the answer against auto attackers. In hybrid situations, you'll be probably going for the armor anyways, but if you're going for engagements with your team, the sweep is likely going to be the talent picked up. And then we have the Thirst at level 7. Anytime Carnage damages enemy hero, your next basic attack within 4 seconds deals 12% additional damage and restores 50% of the total damage as health. This damage stacks 10 times. So let's show a little bit about how much you can possibly get off of a single target being at the best range possible. So we now have next basic attack deals 50% additional damage. So we stacked 5 times on a single target. And don't forget that we also do heal for that damage. This is again going to be a great bursty talent if you're going for kind of an in and out playstyle. Blood Rage heals more against low health targets. So again, trying to finish off low health targets, you'll be healing a lot. Now this is kind of what I was talking about, that the lower health that you can get a target, if you can use your W to finish them off, then you can heal a bunch and go for another target. So this, as much as this may seem like it deals, this might be better in a Blood Rage build, this could also be good in a finisher build by using this Healmonger. And then we also have Siphoning Link. Damaging enemy heroes with revolving sweeps. Initial impact causes you to regenerate 210 health over 4 seconds. Stacks 4 times. So damaging a hero with the initial impact. So that's kind of the strange part about this, is this stacks 4 times, but it says initial impact. That would make me believe that it's just the E itself. So let's reset the talents and see what this talent actually does. Let me take some damage here. Again, this is not the health of a melee assassin. This is the health of a bruiser. So they're either going to need to tone down her numbers a little bit and turn her damage numbers a little bit and turn her into that. So initial impact, let's see what this actually means. 210 health, and then I hit 2 more people, and it looks like it increases. So maybe it can hit multiple times along the way if people are moving around. So that as long as you're hitting people, you're healing. Kind of interesting, but I don't know if that's going to be better because it's such a long cooldown for an ability. So I'm not sure about that. As for the level 10s, again, like I said, if you're running with like a Gul'dan who has Horrify to engage and then damage to get people low, you'll probably using Final Strike to finish them off. But if you're one of the engagers for your team, then Unrelenting Strikes is going to be a must pick. Level 13, we have Chainsaw. Blood Rage reduces Carnage's cooldown. So Carnage's cooldown is recharging 100% faster while the enemy has max Blood Rage stacks. So again, you can get max Blood Rage stacks on a single thing. Let's say all you do is you go in with your trait, press Q, you have max Blood Rage stacks, and you are now doubling the speed of your cooldown, right? Very solid. Should be easy to keep stacks up on the target as long as you can keep those Blood Rage stacks on them and keep your cooldown going because you'll just be throwing your Q over and over. Pulsing Pain increases the sweep damage to the main target, so each additional enemy hero hit will cause the primary target to take additional damage. Again, this is a really great tool if you're going to be charging past their tank and trying to melt down one backliner. So for example, if I pick up this talent, I charge their tank, I move past their tank, and then I move around, I'm pulsating around, doing extra damage to the target, and then you can see you could also burst with a bunch of other stuff. Pretty interesting. Is that gonna be the talent? I don't know. I mean, it requires a lot more like things to line up in your favor to get value off of it. The Hunted basic attacks. Basically, attacking an enemy hero increases your basic attack's damage against that hero by 25 stacks 4 times in the last 4 seconds. Bonus is reset if you go to a different hero. Remember, she's a hunter. She has the focus on the targets that she is hunting. So this is a great tool if you're sticking on one target for a long time. As you can see already, we have empowered basic attacks on lowered health targets. We have basic attacking enemies will give you armor. And then we can have it to where you heal more on low health targets. So once you get on a target, you're just hitting them. Or you can increase your basic attack damage with this, while also increasing your basic attack damage with this, healing for those extra bonuses. Remember that basic attack percentages are always additive, not multiplicative. But anyways, so pretty cool target for hunting down someone, even called the Hunted. Level 16, this is usually the biggest power spike for most heroes, so let's see what she gets. Resolving Sweep reactivation hits areas, so increases stun duration of the sweep's reactivation, as well as enemy heroes around the primary target also activated. So this is what I was talking about, where it would be cool if you could pull in multiple people, and this is a really powerful talent because it hits a huge chunk of area. So if you hit a target, it's going to pull in everyone in that area. So you want to try to hit the middle target of the team and then pull them all into your team, and it stuns them all for that huge amount. Again, an amazing engage if you're going for it. Reducing the enemy's armor. If you want to focus on a single target, then this is a great talent for just focusing on one target. And then revolving sweeps recharge faster. So if you can revolving sweep, it'll recharge 150% faster while you're swinging around the target. She also gains spell armor for 2 seconds after the reactivation. So if you were to activate this talent, you would be able to do it again relatively quickly. It's turn off toggle cooldowns, reset, and just pick random talents for now. And then you can look at the cooldown really quick. So if you use your E, okay, I'm an idiot. If you use your E, the cooldown's going to go longer, and then if you use your E again, so you can shave off about 6 seconds on it while you're going. You will also get some armor. I personally don't like this talent because I feel like if you're already going for something, you're going to try to go for something big. But this is all about just bouncing around a team fight more often. And this could be the meta talent because E can be used as an engage or an escape, so it would be a really powerful talent in a 1v1 that starts going a little sour, and then you just immediately back out. So if you need engage for your team, you go booming kick. If you were needing more 1v1s or just picking out like individual targets, then swing life away would probably be an option. Let's talk about our level 20 talents. So before we get into her upgraded ones, let's go into just the basic ones you can pick with either ultimate ability. Nearby enemy heroes below 50% are revealed, and you gain 20% movement speed while an enemy hero is revealed by this. Additionally, you deal 20% increased damage to these revealed enemies. Something Warwick, yeah, we get it. That is a cool talent for a hunter, though. I mean, in general, like, you reveal people and then you charge them, and you see if you can take them out. Not only that, what does that work great with? Final Strike, which you're going to reveal enemies and you can hit them and finish them off. So while Final Strike makes it to where if you get a kill, you reset all of your abilities, this might actually be a better option for you because you can reveal enemies that are running away. Just a really cool talent. Utility belt, grappling hook recharges faster. So the cooldown is reset when hitting an enemy hero with the initial impact and recharges 900% faster if she hasn't taken damage within the last 5 seconds. So let's take this talent for a second and let's see what this actually does. If you hit a chain on an enemy hero, it's resolving 900% faster. Cooldown is reset when hitting an enemy hero with the initial impact of this and recharges 900% faster if she hasn't taken damage. Grappling hook's cooldown is reset when hitting an enemy hero with the initial impact of... Oh, okay. So what you need to do is you need to do this, and then you send them in, and then you can hit them with that. I'm so confused. Oh, I see. So you're using your trait, and then you're going to use your E. I cannot read, apparently. Boom. So it resets the cooldown of both... No, just the sweep. So you can engage, send someone into your team, and then disengage if you need to, if it doesn't work out. That reading comprehension is not my strong suit, apparently. And then the upgraded for your ult is increase the damage to heroes from 25 or that are under 50% from 25% to 50%, which at level 20 would be going from 910 plus 25%, which would be essentially about an extra 200 health or 200 damage to an extra 400 damage, 450 to be exact, 455 to be exact, but yeah, you get the point. And then if an enemy dies within the 1.5 second window, reset all cooldowns. Reset the cooldowns of Final Strike and basic abilities, so all cooldowns. So that's the upgraded version of that. And then Silent Killer, the initial cast of Unrelenting Strikes silences enemies who are within the area for 2 seconds, and its cooldown is reduced by 3 seconds when hitting enemy heroes. So let's take a peek at this talent really quick. Let's pick up just like some armor and stuff in case you're going with one of these builds. And let's go Unrelenting. And we'll go with Chainsaw and Reactivation. This might be something of an engagement build. Now let's see what it looks like. So you'd be going in, and then you would silence all of the enemies. Oh, it's only the initial portion, so you could really only silence 1, maybe 2 targets with that. But then you could do a good chunk of damage throughout that fight. So you might even want to start off by seeing if you can get anyone clustered. So let's toggle cooldowns for a second. That did actually lower the cooldown pretty good. So let's say you did this, where you charged in with this, then you hit your E, and then you knocked them all in together. Oh, it actually knocked them away. And that's pretty interesting. Something to note also is that as the timers go down, it's a little bit harder to reset all of them. Like, you can keep 5 up on targets, but it does get a little tricky. Yeah, that's interesting. I think you would want to wait on your E. I think you'd want to go in with your R. If they're clustered, you're going to want to go in with your trait and then R immediately, and then have it get big, slam as many people as possible, then go with your E and send them into your team, and then use your W's and whatnot. I think that's probably her engage build. So let's talk about some possible builds and see where we're going. Now, as I've said before, my builds tend to be, when it comes to supports, I usually have them like dead on of what it's going to be before I even really play the hero. But I will have to play this hero a little bit to see what we need to go with and the builds that I think we'll be doing. But if I was to take a quick guess, I would say that she has an auto attack based build, and I would say that she has a more burst engage build. So let's reset the talents, and I'm going to go through the ones that I've seen just right off the bat. Empowering basic attacks against weak heroes is going to be necessary for the auto attack build. Basic attacks give you armor. Now, you're going to be attacking faster the lower health they get, so you'll be getting armor very quickly. Then at this level, it's going to be between a lot of things, but you don't want to be wasting a lot of time using your E because you're going to be wanting to be auto-attacking. Carnage is going to increase your basic attack damage, so again, because your basic attack damage is already going to be high, and now you can heal based off of it, I think the Thirst is going to be the way to go in the auto-attack build. Auto-attack build, you'll probably be going Final Strike, because you're going to be auto-attacking targets, getting them really low, and then you'll be finishing them off from a range if they use any sort of escape. But Unrelenting is just a meta ult, so I feel like this will work in any build. So I think in the auto attack build you can go with either or, but you do want to spend less time casting abilities and more time auto attacking, so I'll be going Final Strike for this time. Basic attacks will be increased for consecutive while hitting targets. This is what the whole build relies on. This will be one of your biggest power spikes in this build. Level 13, you'll really be able to jump in and do a lot of damage. Level 16, you're probably going to want to go with something that gives you an escape or something that can reduce the armor of the target that you're hitting rather than trying to engage on their entire team. So I'd go with reducing the armor. And then again, it doesn't really matter what talent you want to go on this tier. I think No Sanctuary could be a really cool talent though, to give yourself that movement speed while all the targets are revealed. Very powerful for just jumping on targets. And let's get a quick glimpse at how much damage this might be able to do. So you would start in by jumping in probably with your trait, get them up to 5 stacks as fast as possible, and start just hitting them. You can always use your W to heal yourself up, use your Q to heal yourself up as well, use your E to lower the armor of the target, and then finish them off. And it seems like a pretty good build for just jumping on and melting down targets. It did take me about 10 seconds to kill a tank, so it is going to be something that will be a little tricky. By the way, her wave clear is pretty decent, but it's not amazing. You will want to make sure to do your Q while the waves are approaching. But yeah, this is actually pretty interesting. Send them into the team, get that movement speed because they're low health, and you have 30 armor going the entire time. So that's one of the builds. I think that's likely going to be one of the easier builds to play if you're just getting into Qhira and you want to play like this hero that's jumping in, doing a bunch of damage, and just being really annoying. Then yeah, I think this is going to be a really solid build. So if you're new playing Qhira, I would recommend playing around with this build. As far as a more engage-heavy build, if you're going to be picking her to replace a maiev, your talents are going to be more in and out, meaning that Fatal Wounds, you want the durations to last longer. The slow could also be beneficial because you are jumping in, but you're probably going to be picking up the slow here instead, so you can still engage with the slow, and you can take a better talent for in and out playstyle. Level 7, you'll likely be going to heal more from getting away from the targets, so you'll be going with Healmonger. You don't want to rely on this because you might not be hitting a lot of people. You might be using your E really quick and just immediately pulling in one person, so you want your heal to be unconditional. Then level 10, of course, you have to go with the stun. Level 13, you're going to be going with the... This is actually a tricky tier in general. Probably going with this just to have that consistent like poke. But again, because your playstyle is very in and out, it might be Pulsing Pain. And then you'll be going with the AoE stun, so that in case it can engage on an entire team, you'll be melting down one target very quickly, and then you'll be bouncing around and engaging, stunning everyone, followed by Silent Killer. So the way this playstyle is going to be is before level 20, you're probably going to jump in with this, use your trait, do damage to everyone involved, and then just getting in there, popping your W, possibly a Q, and getting out. When your cooldowns are, when your quest is done, you're going to be doing quite a lot in these team fights. In the later team fights, you're going to be jumping in, and while they're clustered, you're going to silence them. As it grows, you're going to stun them, then you're going to engage and send them into your team. And that's essentially how you're going to want to play out every single team fight. Your cooldown for your ult is going to be very low, which means you're just going to stay in the fight, possibly do an in and out playstyle where you get out, you mount up, you get back in, and you go back into this fight, slowing people with your E, as well as re-engaging them back into your team, followed by getting more ults out. So you're just going to be a ton of CC, a ton of annoyance in the team fights, and you're just going to be really, really valuable for those short and long fights. So if you're going to be in the solo lane, I would imagine running more of the auto attack build and then joining the fights and just being this scary auto attacker. If you're going to be in the 4-man, this is probably the build you're going to be going with, or some variation of something like this. It gives you really powerful engages, and you can really jump on people. So the engages might look like this for the 4-man, where you trait in miss, of course, and then go in with your E, send them into your team, slow them down, and then possibly use your ult. And there you go. And that's essentially how you're going to be looking with this, just keeping slows on them as long as possible with all of your different abilities, and going from there. Anyways, thank you guys so much. Let me know in the comments what you think about Qhira. Was there a build that you want to practice that I didn't end up showing? Are you excited to try out one of the builds that I did show? And I will do my best to try to get some videos out of Qhira before she is released, so stay tuned to watch out on the channel. Thank you guys so much for hanging out for the long video. People told me that they wanted to have longer videos of new heroes, so I'm trying this out. Let me know what you guys think. Did you prefer the longer style, or do you still want me to try to go back to the 20-minute style when new heroes get released, where I might skip past a few things, still mention all the talents, but not show all the different ideas and synergies and whatnot? Thank you guys so much, and feel free to check out any of my other videos.